All right, we're live. Hey, the thing about the Strait of Hormuz that nobody's talking about this closure, about this on and off again negotiation to open it, not to open it, the news keeps changing. It's really hard to know who to believe. It's open, we're negotiating. The Iranians say, no, we're not negotiating. It's not open. Then it's open for a few minutes, then it's closed. And that's the kind of news cycle we're in. And people are making investment decisions based on what they hear in the news, based off of a Truth Social post, a tweet, what have you. You do you. You do you, boo boo. But I want to talk about the things that nobody's really talking about. Because when we hear about the Strait of Hormuz, we think about high energy prices. National average price of gasoline is over $4 a barrel. Almost at over $4 a share. But what we need to talk about is what else is affected. Yes, liquid natural gas. The world's energy supply is deeply impacted. We can talk about all those issues and the impact it'll have on inflation if it goes on much longer. Right now, the reason why you keep seeing markets recover, and the reason you saw the markets, some of the major averages hit record highs like the S&P 500 this past Friday. By the way, you cannot invest directly into an index, but you could invest into a security that tracks or mimics an index, is because as long as we get through this battle, this war with Iran pretty quickly, investors assume that the price of energy will quickly go back down to where it was before. We move forward with a weakened Iran, and the world goes on, and that's what we're going to have. That is the very rosy scenario that is keeping stocks afloat. On the other hand, the negative scenario that is causing investors to worry, and I'm going by extremes here from rosy to opaque, dark, the worst, is if this goes on. It's tough to say if this war goes on for another month, another 8 weeks. I've seen estimates that say another couple of weeks, another couple of months, and things in between. But let's say this goes on right through July 4th weekend. At some point, investors and consumers alike start to think that the current high prices, the cost it is now to fill up your gas tank, to see what your electric bill is going to be, but more importantly, we're going to start getting into pricing for heating oil and liquid natural gas for next winter. We're going to start talking about that this summer. I think that's when people really start to see the impact of inflation, and consumers no longer just think that inflation could be 3.5%, but maybe they start to think it's 5%. That changes behavior. It changes behavior for investors because now you have to start to take a discount rate of a lot higher that'll impact the price of stocks, in particular growth stocks with high valuation metrics, such as those predominantly tied to the AI build out. And then you have to start to think in terms of consumer spending. And then we have to start thinking back to school is affected. We have to start thinking Christmas is affected. But again, the rosy scenario is these things will be worked out way before then. So you have the dark scenario, the rosy scenario. I want to talk to you, though, about something else. Again, the things that people aren't talking about. There is more to the story of the Strait of Hormuz than just liquid natural gas and oil. There is also aluminum. I don't know if you know this, but the Middle East, Gulf states, that is a major source of aluminum. Why? Because they have a major source of cheap energy. It takes a massive amount of energy to make aluminum. From alumina to aluminum, it's a very energy intensive process. And about 20% of the world's aluminum actually originates, is created in the Gulf and goes through the Strait of Hormuz. That affects everything from cars to the data center build out to just anything with metal today is made often. I should say anything. Many products are made with aluminum. So aluminum prices go up. What's the other one? Food. Because whether or not you think of food like this, when you eat something, you're basically eating fertilizer. That's right. I said it. You're eating fertilizer. Sounds kind of a weird thing to say, but if you think about corn, for example, you grow corn using fertilizer. Now, the United States has the best planting in the world. In the world, that's where we are the biggest producer of corn. We have very good soil, we have the right ingredients, but we use a lot of fertilizer. Farmers spend a fortune on fertilizer. But you have to use even more fertilizer in other parts of the world, in particular Africa, because without fertilizer, they really can't grow much. It's the fertilizer that is the food source for vegetation for your crops. So think about that when you grow corn, that corn is fed to a chicken, you eat the chicken, you are basically eating fertilizer and corn. People call chicken basically corn with legs. So think about the price of food and how that moves through the food chain. That's another issue that we could see inflation in food prices, and it's an effect on food. So this affects consumers. So it's not just higher energy prices. It's not just that your food prices are higher because it costs more to transport your food because all food eventually winds up on a truck some way, somehow, or on a boat. The cost of transportation is up, but the cost of the production of the feedstocks into food goes up. Then there's helium. Helium is a major, major input in creating semiconductor chips and cooling them and helping etch them. So helium is another major source of feedstock into semiconductor chips, which we are all talking about the AI build out. The AI build out is dependent on chips from mostly NVIDIA and from Broadcom and from Advanced Micro Devices and from Marvell and even companies like Taiwan Semiconductor, which are making chips, customized chips for companies like Google and Meta and Amazon. This is a very, very big deal for for the AI trade. So there's much more to the Strait of Hormuz being closed than just energy. So this is why it's a kind of a triple, let's say quadruple whammy. It's not just energy, it's not just petrochemicals, it's not just your plastics and the tar that we use to make roads that are also petrochemicals. It's almost everything we have touches energy. The plastic that's in your camera, the plastic that is in your phone, the plastic that's in your car. It's all oil-based, petroleum-based products. So this is the story that not enough people are talking about. This bears watching, and this controls, or this impacts the price of everything. It definitely impacts demand. It impacts supply. It means all these $700 billion that the top superscalers, hyperscalers like Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, OpenAI. Okay, these companies are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the AI build out. It means they get less for their money. So maybe as consumers and businesses, we get less AI capability. So these are the things to watch. I wanted to share this with you because I think just because you think oil or natural gas supplies could come back online, it affects a lot of other things. The Middle East is no longer just an energy play. It's aluminum, it's fertilizer, it's helium, it's petrochemicals like plastics. All right, that's it for today. I want you to think about this the right way. If you need anything, give me a call. I'm Mitch Goldberg. Thank you.